Jake Harrison stood in the control room of the human spaceship called Defiant. He was the commander of this ship and had been traveling through space for 3 months now. The mission was simple: patrol the outer edges of human space and watch for anything strange or dangerous. It was a quiet Tuesday morning when everything changed. Jake was drinking his coffee and reading reports from other ships when Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez called out from her station. "Commander, I'm getting something weird on the radio," Maya said. She was the ship's communication officer and had been working with radios and signals for 10 years. "This doesn't sound like anything we've heard before." Jake walked over to Maya's station. On her screen, strange patterns of light flashed on and off. The patterns looked like some kind of code, but not any code the humans used. "What do you think it is?" Jake asked. "I'm not sure," Maya replied, "but it's coming from the Kepler 442 system. That's about 50 light years from here. The signal is very weak, like whoever sent it is very far away or using old equipment." Jake called for Dr. Alex Stone to come to the control room. Alex was the ship's expert on alien languages and codes. If anyone could figure out what the signal meant, it would be him. When Alex arrived, he looked at the patterns on Maya's screen. His face became serious as he studied the flashing lights. "This is definitely not human," he said after a few minutes. "But I can see some basic math patterns. Look here, they're using prime numbers: 1, 3, 5, 7, 11. These are universal concepts that any smart species would know." Lisa Park, another communication officer, joined them at the station. She was good with computers and helped Alex run the signal through different programs to see if they could understand it better. "Commander," Alex said after working for 2 hours, "I think this is a distress call." Jake felt his stomach drop. A distress call from aliens meant someone out there was in serious trouble. "Are you sure?" Jake asked. "Pretty sure," Alex replied. "The pattern keeps repeating the same message over and over. When I run it through our translation programs, I get words like help, dying, and please, someone is asking for rescue. Lisa's COMPUTER started showing new information. "Commander, I'm getting more details. The signal is coming from a planet in the Kepler 442 system. Based on the signal strength, I think there are millions of people sending this message." Jake walked back to his captain's chair and sat down. This was a big decision. Human ships were not supposed to go into unknown space without permission from Earth Command. But if aliens were asking for help, could he just ignore them? Dr. Sam Parker, the ship's doctor, came into the control room after hearing the news. "What kind of help do they need?" she asked. Alex continued working on the translation. After another hour, his face went pale. "Commander, you need to hear this." Alex played the translated message to the ship's speakers. A voice, clearly not human, but speaking in broken English thanks to the translation computer, filled the room. "Please, anyone who can hear this message. We are the Zelani people of the planet Thesha. Our world is under attack. Ships from the stars came to our planet 3 days ago. They are killing everyone. Our cities are burning. Our children are dying. We have no weapons to fight back. We are a peaceful people. We only want to live. Please, if there is anyone out there who can help us, come quickly. We don't have much time left." The message repeated again and again. Jake could hear the fear and sadness in the alien voice, even through the computer translation. Maya's hands were shaking as she worked her controls. "Commander, the signal is getting weaker. I think fewer people are alive to send it." Jake stood up and looked out the front window of his ship at the stars. Somewhere out there, an entire species was being killed, and they were asking for help. From anyone who would listen. Captain Ryan Bell, Jake's second in command, came into the control room. "What's our situation, Commander?" he asked. Jake explained everything they had learned. When he finished, Ryan was quiet for a long moment. "Sir, Earth Command will not be happy if we leave our patrol area," Ryan said. "We're supposed to stay in human space and protect our own people." "I know," Jake replied, "but these aliens are asking for help. They're being killed right now while we stand here talking." Nina Walsh, the ship's engineer, spoke up from her station. "Commander, I can have the ship ready to jump to hyperspace in 30 minutes. The Kepler 442 system is 2 days away at maximum speed." Dr. Parker looked at the medical supplies list on her computer. "I have enough medical equipment to help wounded people, but if there are millions of them—" "We'll do what we can," Jake said firmly. "Maya, send a message back to Earth Command. Tell them we're responding to an alien distress call. Give them our location and where we're going." Alex was still working on the translation when he suddenly looked up with fear in his eyes. "Commander, I just translated another part of the message. The aliens attacking the Zilani call themselves the Hegemony. They're not just killing the Zilani, they're destroying them completely because the Zilani refused to become their slaves." The room became very quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. This was not just a war, it was genocide. Jake made his decision. "All hands, prepare for hyperspace jump. We're going to help the Zilani." As the ship prepared to leave human space, none of them knew they were about to start the biggest war in galactic history. They only knew that someone was asking for help, and they could not say no. 2 days later, the Defiant came out of hyperspace near the Kepler 442 system. What Jake Harrison saw through the front window made him feel sick to his stomach. The planet they show was covered in smoke and fire. Even from far away in space, they could see bright flashes where bombs were exploding on the surface. Around the planet, large alien warships flew in circles like hungry sharks. "My God," whispered Captain Ryan Bell as he looked at the destruction. "How many people lived on that planet?" Dr. Alex Stone checked his computer. "According to the messages we received, about 8 billion Zilani lived on Nesha. It was their only planet." Maya Rodriguez was listening to radio signals from the Asura planet. Her face was white with shock. "Commander, I'm hearing screams. Lots of screaming. And something else. The attacking ships are talking to each other. They sound happy about what they're doing." Jake felt anger building in his chest. He had been a soldier for 20 years and had seen war before, but this was different. This was not war, this was murder. Security Chief Matt Cooper came to the control room wearing his combat gear. "Sir, request permission to take a small team down to the planet. We need to see what's really happening down there." "Granted," Jake said. "Take Kate Morrison as your pilot and Tony Blake for security. Use the stealth shuttle and stay hidden." Kate Morrison was one of the best pilots in the human fleet. She could fly anything and had never been caught by enemy sensors. Tony Blake was a Marine sergeant who had fought in the Mars colonies and knew how to handle dangerous situations. The 3 humans took the small shuttle and flew toward the planet. They kept their ship invisible using stealth technology so the alien warships would not see them. What they found on Nesha made Tony Blake, a tough Marine who had seen many battles, start crying. The hegemony ships were not just attacking military targets. They were bombing schools, hospitals, and homes where families lived. In one city, Kate watched through her camera as alien soldiers lined up hundreds of Zilani people and shot them all. "This is not war," Matt said into his radio back to the Defiant. "This is extermination. They're killing everyone, men, women, children, old people. They don't care who they are." The Zilani people looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin and large eyes. They had no weapons and did not fight back when the hegemony soldiers attacked them. They were peaceful people who had never learned how to make war. Kate landed the shuttle near a burning city, and the three humans got out to help some wounded Zelani. The aliens were scared when they first saw the humans, but Tony Blake showed them his medical kit and tried to help their injuries. An old Zelani woman who was hurt badly grabbed Matt's arm and spoke to him in broken English. "Why are you here?" "You should run away before they kill you too." "We came to help," Matt said simply. The old woman started crying. "No one comes to help. Everyone in the galaxy is afraid of the hegemony. They will kill your people too if you stay." While the rescue team was on the planet's surface, Jake tried to contact the hegemony warships. He wanted to talk to their commander and ask them to stop the killing. The answer came quickly. A voice spoke over the radio in perfect English. "I am Supreme Commander Vextar of the Hegemony Fleet. You are in restricted space. Leave now or be destroyed." "This is Commander Jake Harrison of the human ship Defiant," Jake replied. "We're here to help the Zelani people. Stop your attack and we can talk about this." Vextar laughed, a cold sound that made everyone on the Defiant feel uncomfortable. "Humans? I have never heard of your species. You must be another primitive race that thinks it can challenge the hegemony. The Zelani refuse to surrender to our rule, so they must all die. That is our law." "Your law is wrong," Jake said. "These are innocent people. They've done nothing to hurt you." "They exist without our permission," Vextar replied. "That is crime enough. You have 1 hour to leave this system, or we will add your species to our list of enemies." The radio went quiet. Jake looked around the control room at his crew. Everyone was angry and ready to fight, but they had only one ship against a whole fleet. Dr. Stone was working with the ship's computer to learn more about the hegemony. What he found was terrible. "Commander, I've been studying their radio signals. The hegemony has done this before. They've destroyed dozens of planets and killed billions of people. Any species that won't become their slaves gets completely wiped out." Down on the planet, Matt and his team found a group of Zelani hiding in an underground shelter. There were about 50 of them, mostly children and old people. The Zelani leader was an old female named Elder Zarth. "Are you here to help?" "You?" she asked Matt through a translation device. "Yes," Matt said. "We're going to get you off this planet." Elder Zarth looked confused. "But why?" "We are not your people. We have nothing to give you. Why would you risk your lives for strangers?" Tony Blake knelt down next to a Zelani child who was crying for her parents. He gave the child some food from his pack and said, "Because it's the right thing to do." The Zelani couldn't understand this. In their galaxy, species only helped their own kind. The idea of risking everything for strangers was completely new to them. Back in space, the hegemony ships started moving toward the Defiant. Jake could see weapon ports opening on the alien warships. They were getting ready to attack. "Nina, how fast can we run?" Jake asked his engineer. "Not fast enough," Nina Walsh replied. "Their ships are faster than ours. If we run, they'll catch us before we can reach hyperspace." Jake made a decision that would change everything. Instead of running away, he ordered his ship to move closer to the planet. "If we're going to fight, we'll do it where we can protect the Zelani." The crew of the Defiant prepared for battle against impossible odds. They had one ship against 12 hegemony warships. Everyone knew they would probably die, but nobody suggested running away and leaving the Zelani to be killed. Maya sent one final message toward human space before the battle began. "This is the Defiant. We are engaging a hostile alien fleet to protect innocent civilians. Tell our families we died doing what was right." The hegemony ships opened fire, and the battle for Vesha began. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, But they had something the hegemony didn't understand. They were fighting for people they had never met before, people who couldn't help them in return. And in human history, that kind of fight was the kind humans never lost. The Defiant shook as hegemony weapons hit its shields. Jake Harrison held onto his chair as sparks flew from damaged equipment around the control room. His ship was strong, but it could not fight 12 enemy warships for very long. Shields down. To 60%, reported Nina Walsh from her engineering station. We can't take much more of this. Jake made the most important decision of his life. He reached over and pressed the big red button marked Emergency Fleet Beacon. This button was only supposed to be used if Earth itself was under attack. Beacon sent a message faster than light to every human military base in the galaxy. The message was short and simple. Genocide in progress. All available ships respond immediately. Coordinates attached. On Earth, the message reached Fleet Admiral Grace Thompson while she was in a meeting with other military leaders. When she read the message, she stood up so fast that her chair fell over. All ships, all crews, everyone, she shouted. Emergency mobilization order. Every ship that can fly is going to the Kepler 442 system right now. Alarms started ringing. In every spaceport from Earth to Mars to the Jupiter colonies. Pilots ran to their ships. Soldiers grabbed their weapons. Engineers worked to get every possible spacecraft ready to fly. General Pete Foster was in charge of getting ground troops ready for battle. He had fought in wars before, but he had never seen the military move so fast. What's the situation? He asked Admiral Thompson. Aliens are committing genocide, Grace replied. Commander Harrison and his crew are trying to stop it with just one ship. We're going to help them. Admiral Lucy Hayes was put in charge of the space fleet. She looked at the numbers on her computer screen and whistled. Ma'am, we're talking about sending over 3,000 ships. This will be the biggest fleet in human history. Good, Grace said. Make it bigger. Back at Thesha, the Defiant was still fighting. Jake's crew had gotten very good at dodging enemy fire and hitting back when they could. Chief Tactical Officer Dan Roberts was using every trick he had learned in 20 years of military service. Commander, I'm targeting their communication arrays, Dan said as he fired the ship's weapons. If they can't talk to each other, they can't coordinate their attacks. The plan worked. Several hegemony ships crashed into each other when they couldn't communicate properly. But there were still too many enemy ships for the Defiant to handle. A lone dot down on the planet, Matt Cooper and his team were moving groups of Zilani civilians to safer locations. But safer was hard to find when the whole planet was under attack. Elder Zareth was with the human rescue team, helping them find more survivors. She had never seen anything like these humans before. They kept risking their lives to save Zilani people they didn't even know. Why do you do this? She asked Matt as they carried wounded Zilani to their shuttle. Your people could be safe if you just left us here. Matt thought about the question while he bandaged a young Zilani's injured arm. On our planet Earth, we have a saying, no one left behind. It means we don't abandon people who need help. But we are not your people, Zareth said. You are now, Matt replied. Dr. Sam Parker was working non-stop in the Defiant's medical bay. She had rescued about 200 Zilani from the planet, and many of them were badly hurt. She had never treated alien patients before, but she was learning fast. Their biology is similar to humans, she reported to Jake. I can help them, but I need more medical supplies if we're going to save more people. Do what you can, Doctor, Jake said. Help is coming. The first human reinforcements arrived 6 hours after Jake sent the emergency signal. The UES Retribution, Admiral Thompson's flagship, came out of hyperspace with 50 other warships. Supreme Commander Vextar, who had been enjoying the easy destruction of the Zilani, suddenly found himself facing a real fight. What is this? he demanded as his sensors showed more and more human ships arriving. "This is what happens when you mess with innocent people," Jake replied over the radio. "You wanted to meet humanity? Congratulations. Here we are." More human ships kept arriving. Vexstar had never seen anything like it. Military ships, cargo ships converted to carry weapons, even civilian ships with volunteer crews who wanted to help fight genocide. Colonel Brad Murphy was in charge of the Marine assault teams. He had fought on dozens of worlds, but this mission was personal. All units, remember why we're here. These aliens were killing helpless civilians. Show them what humans do to bullies. Captain Steve Carter led the fighter squadrons. His small, fast ships swarmed around the hegemony warships like angry bees. "This is for every Zilani child they murdered," he said as he fired his weapons. The hegemony had been winning easily when they only faced one human ship. But now they were facing the largest war fleet in human history, and every human was angry. The hegemony ships were built to fight weak enemies who couldn't fight back. Human ships were built to survive in the dangerous space around Earth, where radiation and meteor strikes were constant threats. The human ships were much tougher than Vexstar expected. "Their ships are too strong," one of Vexstar's captains reported. "Our weapons barely damage them." "Then use more weapons." Vexstar shouted back, but the humans had more than just strong ships. They had something the hegemony didn't understand. They were fighting for an idea. They believed that strong people should protect weak people, not hurt them. Dr. Stone was working with Elder Zareth to coordinate rescue operations on the planet. The old Zilani female was amazed by what she was seeing. "Your people fight like demons when they are angry," she told him. "Only when we see injustice," Alex replied. "Humans don't like bullies." The battle was turning in humanity's favor, but it was far from over. More hegemony ships were coming from other star systems, and the humans knew this was just the beginning of a much larger war. Maya Rodriguez was monitoring enemy radio signals when she heard something that made her smile. "Commander, the hegemony ships are talking to each other. They're scared. They've never fought anyone who fights back this hard." "Good," Jake said. "Let them be scared. Maybe they'll think twice before they attack innocent people again." But Jake knew this was bigger than just saving the Zilani. The humans had just declared war on the most powerful empire in the galaxy. There would be consequences, and they would probably be terrible. Still, as he watched human ships rescuing Zilani civilians from the burning planet, Jake knew they had made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing was more important than staying safe. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't start fights, but they sure knew how to finish them. Supreme Commander Vexstar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his long-range sensors with growing fear. The human fleet was bigger than anything he had ever seen. Ships kept appearing out of hyperspace, one after another, until space around Desha was filled with human warships. "Sir, we count over 3,000 enemy vessels," his tactical officer reported with a shaking voice. "They outnumber us 3-1. Vexstar had conquered 47 star systems for the hegemony. He had destroyed entire species without losing a single battle, but he had never faced an enemy like this. Most species begged for mercy when they saw hegemony ships. These humans had seen the hegemony fleet and called for reinforcements. Admiral Grace Thompson stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, looking at the burning planet below. She had been a soldier for 30 years and had seen many terrible things, but the destruction of Desha made her angrier than she had ever been in her life. "All ships, this is Admiral Thompson," she announced over the fleet communication system. "We are here to stop a genocide. The enemy has been murdering innocent civilians for days. Show them what humans think of people who hurt the helpless." The human fleet moved into attack formation. Unlike the hegemony ships, which fought in rigid patterns, the human ships moved like a pack of wolves hunting together. Each captain knew what to do without being told. Captain Steve Carter led his fighter squadrons in the first attack. His small ships were much faster than the big hegemony warships, and they used that speed to strike at weak points in the enemy formation. Remember, these aliens were bombing schools and hospitals, Steve told his pilots. They wanted to kill children. Make them pay for it. The human fighters swarmed around the hegemony ships like angry insects. They were too small and fast for the big alien weapons to hit, but their own weapons could damage important systems on the larger ships. Colonel Brad Murphy commanded the assault ships that carried human soldiers. His job was to board enemy ships and capture them. It was dangerous work, but Brad's Marines were the best fighters in human space. Lock and load, Marines, Brad said as his ship approached a damaged hegemony cruiser. We're going to show these aliens how humans fight up close. The human assault ships attached themselves to the hegemony vessels like metal parasites, and the Marines cut through the alien hulls and fought their way inside. The hegemony soldiers had never faced human infantry before, and they were not prepared for what they found. Humans had evolved on Earth, a planet so dangerous that most aliens would consider it a death trap. Human soldiers were stronger, faster, and tougher than most alien species. They could fight in conditions that would kill other beings. The hegemony soldiers were used to fighting weak enemies who surrendered quickly. When human Marines kept fighting, even after being wounded, the aliens panicked and ran. These humans are insane, one hegemony captain radioed to his fleet. They fight like wild animals. My soldiers are terrified. Down on Nesha, Matt Cooper and his rescue teams were working with the main human force to save as many Zelani as possible. The planet's surface was still being bombed, but human ships were now protecting the rescue shuttles. Elder Zareth was helping coordinate the rescue efforts. She had learned to use human communication equipment and was guiding the rescuers to hidden groups of survivors. There are 300 Zelani hiding in the mountains to the north, she told Matt. But the area is still under attack by enemy ground forces. We'll get them, Matt promised. No one gets left behind. The human rescue teams moved through active battlefields to reach trapped civilians. They used armored vehicles and aircraft to fight their way past hegemony ground troops who were trying to kill the remaining. ZEL-ANI. Dr. Sam Parker had set up a field hospital on one of the human ships. She was working with a team of human doctors and Zelani medical workers to treat the wounded. The cooperation between the two species was growing stronger every hour. Dr. Parker, I don't understand, said a young Zelani medic named Kenneth. Why do your people risk so much for us? We cannot repay you for this help. Sam looked up from a patient she was treating and smiled. We don't want to be repaid. We're doing this because it's right. The main space battle was turning into a disaster. For the hegemony, their ships were designed to fight weak enemies who couldn't fight back effectively. Human warships were built to survive in the dangerous space around Earth, where solar radiation and asteroid impacts were constant threats. When hegemony weapons hit human ships, the humans kept fighting. When human weapons hit hegemony ships, the aliens often lost power or life support systems. Their ships are too strong, Vextar shouted at his fleet commanders. How can primitive species have such advanced technology? What Vextar didn't understand was that human technology wasn't more advanced. It was just built differently. Human engineers designed everything to work in terrible conditions because Earth was a harsh planet. Hegemony engineers built things to work in perfect conditions because they had never faced real opposition. Nina Walsh, the engineer on the Defiant, explained it to Elder Zareth as they watched the battle through the ship's windows. Our ships are built to handle anything the universe can throw at us. We expect things to go wrong, so we designed backups for our backups. The turning point of the battle came when Captain Dan Roberts discovered a weakness in the hegemony formation. The alien ships stayed close together for protection, but this meant that when one ship was damaged, it could crash into others. All ships target the command vessel in the center of their formation, Dan announced. If we can take out their flagship, the others will lose coordination. Human ships from all directions focused their fire on Vexstar's command ship. The massive alien vessel, which had destroyed dozens of worlds, began to break apart under the concentrated human attack. "Sir, we're losing power," Vexstar S-Engineering officer reported. "Hull breaches on all decks. We need to abandon ship." Vexstar couldn't believe what was happening. His mighty fleet was being destroyed by a species he had never heard of before. Today, these humans fought with a ferocity that reminded him of the old stories about mythical warriors from his people's ancient past. "All ships retreat," Vexstar ordered as his flagship began to explode around him. "Fall back to the outer system." But the human fleet wasn't finished. Admiral Thompson had seen the evidence of genocide on Desha, and she was not going to let the people responsible escape to do it again somewhere else. "All ships pursue the enemy," she ordered. "We're going to end this here and now." The battle that followed lasted 18 hours. Human ships chased fleeing hegemony vessels through the entire star system. Some hegemony ships tried to surrender, but others kept fighting until they were destroyed. Captain Steve Carter's fighters intercepted the last group of enemy ships trying to escape to hyperspace. "This is for every innocent person you murdered," he said as he fired the weapons that destroyed the final hegemony cruiser. When the battle was over, the hegemony fleet was completely destroyed. Only a few damaged ships remained, drifting powerless in space. Vexstar himself was captured when human marines boarded his escape pod. The humans had won a complete victory, but at a cost. Over 200 human ships had been damaged, and nearly 1,000 human soldiers had been killed or wounded. Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of the Defiant, looking at the wreckage floating in space around Desha. The battle was over, but he knew this was just the beginning. The hegemony was a huge empire, and they would not ignore the destruction of an entire fleet. "Maya, send a message to Earth Command," he said. "Tell them we've won the battle, but we're probably going to need a lot more ships." The galaxy was about to learn that when humans said, "Never again," they meant it. The space around Desha was filled with the wreckage of the hegemony fleet. Broken ships drifted in the darkness, their hulls torn open by human weapons. Emergency pods floated among the debris, carrying the survivors of the alien fleet that had come to commit genocide. Admiral Grace Thompson stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s Retribution, watching the destruction through her front window. Her fleet had won a complete victory. The hegemony force was destroyed, and the planet Thesha was safe. By all military logic, her job was done. But then something happened that would change how the entire galaxy thought about humanity. "Admiral, we're detecting life signs in those escape pods," reported her sensor officer. "Several hundred hegemony survivors are floating out there. Some of them are badly injured." Every human officer on the bridge looked at their admiral, waiting for orders. These were the same aliens who had been murdering innocent civilians just hours before. They had shown no mercy to the Zelani people they had been exterminating. Grace made a decision that surprised even her own crew. "All ships, begin search and rescue operations. Bring in all survivors, human, Zelani, and hegemony. No one gets left to die in space." Captain Ryan Bell, who was now in temporary command of the Defiant while Jake recovered from his injuries, spoke up on the communication channel. "Admiral, with respect, these aliens were committing genocide. They don't deserve our help." "Captain Bell, they're helpless now," Grace replied. "We don't leave helpless people to die, even if they're our enemies. That's what makes us different from them." The human rescue ships spread out across the battlefield, collecting escape pods and treating wounded survivors. Many of the human crew members were angry about having to save the people who had been killing civilians, but they followed orders. Dr. Sam Parker found herself working on injured hegemony soldiers in her medical bay alongside wounded Zalani civilians. The contrast was stark. The Zalani thanked her for her help, while the hegemony soldiers seemed confused by her kindness. A wounded hegemony officer named Crix looked up at Dr. Parker as she treated his injuries. "Why are you helping me?" he asked through a translation device. "I was trying to kill your people just a few hours ago." "Because you're hurt and I'm a doctor," Sam replied simply. "It's what I do." Crix had been a soldier for 15 years and had fought in dozens of battles. He had never seen an enemy show mercy to defeated opponents. In hegemony culture, losing a battle meant death or slavery. The idea of enemies helping each other was completely foreign to him. Supreme Commander Vextar was brought aboard the Retribution as a prisoner. He expected to be tortured for information or executed as a war criminal. Instead, he was given medical treatment for his injuries and placed in a comfortable cell with food and water. "I don't understand," he said to his human guard. "Why haven't you killed me? I ordered the death of millions of your allies." The guard, a young Marine named Bobby Chun, thought about the question. "Because killing you won't bring back the people who died. And we're not like you." Down on Desha, the work of rebuilding began immediately. Human engineering teams worked alongside Zalani survivors to clear the rubble and start building new homes and hospitals. The cooperation between the two species grew stronger every day. Elder Zareth had become the unofficial leader of the surviving Zalani. She worked closely with the human commanders to coordinate the relief efforts. She was still amazed by what she was seeing. "Colonel Murphy, I still don't understand your people," she said, as they watched human soldiers building a school for Zalani children. "You traveled across the galaxy to help strangers, and now you're rebuilding our world. What do you gain from this?" Brad Murphy watched a human engineer teaching a young Zalani how to use construction equipment. "We gain the knowledge that we did the right thing," he said. "Sometimes that's enough." The news of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Other alien species had been hiding from the hegemony for centuries, too afraid to fight back against their cruelty. Now they learned that someone had not only fought the hegemony, but had defeated them completely. But what really shocked the galaxy was what happened next. Instead of conquering the hegemony territories, the humans began offering protection to other species who had been threatened by the Empire. Representatives from dozens of worlds came to Thesha to meet with the humans. They expected to find conquerors who would demand tribute or submission. Instead, they found people who only wanted to help. Ambassador Lisa Park, who had been promoted from her communications role, met with a delegation from the Keth Empire, former vassals of the hegemony. "What are your terms for protection?" asked the Keth representative. "How much tribute do you require? What percentage of our resources do you claim?" Lisa looked confused. "We don't want tribute. We just want to make sure no one else gets hurt like the Zalani did." The Keth delegation couldn't believe what they were hearing. Every powerful species in the galaxy demanded payment for protection. The idea of free help was impossible to understand. Jake Harrison had recovered from his injuries and was back in command of the Defiant. He often walked through the ship's corridors, where human and Zalani children now played together. The Zalani families had been given quarters on human ships while their planet was being rebuilt. "Commander," Elder Zareth said to him one day, "I have a question that troubles me. Your people lost many soldiers saving us. Hundreds of humans died for people they had never met. How do you justify this to their families?" Jake thought about all the memorial services he had attended for the fallen human soldiers. "Elder, we don't have to justify it. When those families hear that their loved ones died protecting innocent people from genocide, they're proud. Pain and pride can exist together. The rebuilding of Desha took 6 months. Human engineers worked alongside Zelani architects to create cities that were better than what had existed before. New schools, hospitals, and homes rose from the ashes of the old world. Dr. Alex Stone had learned to speak the Zelani language fluently and was working on translating human literature into Zelani. I think they'll really enjoy our stories about heroes who fight for justice, he told Elder Zareth. Your people live these stories, she replied. You don't just tell tales about heroes. You are heroes. The captured hegemony soldiers presented a difficult problem. Many of them had committed terrible crimes during the genocide, but the humans refused to execute them. Instead, they were put to work helping rebuild Desha under close supervision. Crix, the wounded hegemony officer, had become something unexpected, a teacher. He helped human military leaders understand hegemony tactics and technology. In return, the humans showed him what a society based on cooperation rather than domination could accomplish. I have served the hegemony my entire life, he told Dr. Parker during one of his medical checkups. I believe that the strong should rule the weak. But watching your people work together with the Zelani, I see there is another way. News of the human victory reached the hegemony capital world of Dominus. The Empire's High Council was in chaos. They had never lost an entire fleet before, and they didn't know how to respond. Supreme Overlord Thane, the ruler of the hegemony, called an emergency meeting. These humans destroyed our most powerful fleet, he said. They must be eliminated before they inspire other species to rebel against us. But other council members disagreed. My lord, perhaps we should negotiate with them. Our intelligence reports suggest they have thousands of ships. If we attack them directly, we might lose even more fleets. The debate continued for weeks while human ships patrolled the former hegemony territories, protecting worlds that had lived in fear for generations. Back on Desha, a ceremony was held to honor the humans who had died saving the Zelani people. A great monument was built with the names of every human soldier who had given their life for strangers. Elder Zareth spoke at the ceremony. Her words broadcast across the galaxy. We called into the darkness of space, hoping someone would hear our cry for help. The humans answered not because they knew us, but because they heard our pain and could not ignore it. They came not as conquerors, but as guardians. They fought not for territory or resources, but for the simple idea that innocent people should not be murdered. She paused, looking up at the stars where human ships still patrolled, protecting her world. The humans have shown us that the galaxy doesn't have to be ruled by fear and cruelty. They have proven that the strong can choose to protect the weak instead of exploiting them. Because of their sacrifice, Zelani children will grow up free. Admiral Thompson received a priority message from Earth Command. The government wanted to know if humanity was ready for a war with the entire hegemony empire, which controlled over 300 star systems. Grace looked out at the human fleet, still growing as more ships arrived from Earth. She thought about the Zelani, children playing in the ship corridors, and the former hegemony soldiers who were learning to help instead of hurt. Send this message to Earth Command, she told her communications officer. We didn't start this war, but we're going to finish it. The galaxy is going to learn that humanity doesn't tolerate genocide. And if the hegemony wants to test that resolve, they're welcome to try. Jake Harrison stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, watching the sunset. Oh,